boys and girls. Today is Tuesday, and here is my mug of the day. Yesterday's mug was from Disney, and it was Goofy. Goofy's my favorite Disney character. I used to even have a license plate that said Goofy. All right, today we are going to read chapter 6, and it's called Crabby Abby. Do you notice how all these titles of the chapters rhyme? All right, here's Crabby Abby. The next morning, Kirk hurried from the cloakroom and stuck a piece of paper on my cage. It almost blocked my view of Og, which was not a bad thing. Once the other students settled in their seats, they started giggling and pointing, led by Gail, of course. Miss Brisbane looked puzzled until she glanced over at the cage. The sign read, "Help! I'm being held prisoner in room 26. "And who is responsible for this? As if I didn't know," she asked. Kirk rose and took a bow as everyone applauded. I joined in, though I was the only one who knew I would never be a prisoner with my lock that doesn't lock. "Let's all sit down now," said Miss Brisbane, "and get back to poetry." Somebody made a very, very rude noise, and Mrs. Brisbane did not like that one little bit. "I heard that, Kirk, and I don't ever want to hear it again." During the rest of the week, we heard a lot more animal poems. Most of them were about frogs. One was about a dog, Miranda's. Saye wrote about a beautiful bird called a dove. Dove rhymes with love. Nobody wrote about hamsters. Aldo didn't mention City College again, and Tabitha still didn't talk to anyone except Smiley. I was looking forward to a change of scenery by the end of the week. A relaxing getaway to one of my classmates' cozy homes, one with plenty of heat and no frogs. On Friday, Mrs. Brisbane said, "I can't remember. Who asked me about taking Humphrey home this weekend?" Miranda's hand shot up. "Yes, Miranda, I got the note from your father. That will be fine." I let out a little eek. I don't think anyone heard me. Everyone knows that I have a special place in my hamster heart for Miranda. After all, her name is Golden, and I am a golden hamster. We both have lovely golden hair. But I have a terrible fear of her dog, Clem. I barely escaped a terrible fate the last time I went home with her, but could I do it again? Then it hit me. Wait a second. Did you say father? I squeaked, because when I went home with Miranda before, there was only her mom, and the dog, of course, and Fanny the fish. Mrs. Brisbane chuckled. "I guess Humphrey approves." I puzzled over this all afternoon. Sure enough, at the end of the day, a tall man called Mr. Golden arrived to pick up his daughter. At least I wouldn't be riding the bus with Maddie Bean. That was a break. Miranda, thoughtful as ever, threw a warm blanket over my cage. As they carried me out, Mrs. Brisbane picked up Og's cage. "I thought you said Og stayed here on weekends," said Miranda. Mrs. Brisbane chuckled. "It's a surprise for my husband. He always enjoys Humphrey, so I thought he'd get a kick out of having Og for the weekend." I felt cold, 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 and we were still inside. I thought the Brisbanes were my best friends of all. Were they ready to replace me with a frog? Once we were in the car, I didn't have time to worry about the Brisbanes. I was too worried about facing Clem again. I could practically see his sloppy tongue and drippy nose and smell that bad breath waiting for me in Miranda's apartment. What a shock it was when the car pulled up in front of a house, not an apartment building. "Here we are, Humphrey," Miranda announced. "You've seen my mom's place, but this weekend we're staying at my dad's place." A nice lady that Miranda called Amy met us at the door. "Hi, honey," said Mr. Golden, kissing Amy on the cheek. "Meet Humphrey the hamster." "Cute," Amy replied. "I think he should stay in the girls' room." What about the living room?" asked Miranda. "Or the dining room table?" "I think he'd get in the way," Mr. Golden said. "Let's go to your room." Miranda's room in the apartment had a bed, a desk, a fish tank, and stars on the ceiling. Her room in this house had 2 beds, a dresser, a desk. Oh, 2 beds. Yeah, a dresser, a desk, and no stars. Everything in this room was pink, from the walls to the bedspreads to the carpet on the floor. A girl about Miranda's age was sprawled across one bed, reading a magazine. "What's that?" she asked in an unpleasant voice. "Humphrey. He's our class hamster," Miranda explained. "Well, he's not staying in my room," the girl stated firmly. It's Miranda's room too, Abby," Amy said as she came in the door behind us. "Put Humphrey on the desk." Miranda thoughtfully opened my cage to straighten out my ladder and my water bottle, which had slid around during the ride. "Mom, I have to do homework on that desk," said Abby, sitting up. Huh? Amy was Abby's mom and she was married to Miranda's dad? Things were quite confusing. "Okay, we'll put his cage on the floor," said Amy. "I heard a baby crying in another room. I've got to see what Ben wants," she said. Mr. Golden followed her and Abby got up to close the door. "He stays on your side of the room," Abby told Miranda. "And don't forget, no crossing lines." Abby took her foot and dragged it in a straight line across the middle of the pink carpet. "No crossing the line. Ever." Miranda sighed. "I know. You tell me every time I'm here." "Sometimes you forget and don't touch anything of mine." "I never do," Miranda countered. "You used my barrette last time," said Abby. "It was a mistake. It looks exactly like mine." Good for Miranda for standing up for herself. "I didn't complain when you borrowed my book without asking." Abby plopped back on the bed again and thumbed through her magazine. "Just don't cross the line," she muttered. I hopped on my wheel for a spin. Sometimes it cheers people up to watch me spinning. Abby's was not one of those people. She glared at me. "Don't tell me it makes noise," she said nastily. "Can't you stop it?" "Humphrey is not an it. He's a he," said Miranda. I love that girl. "You could read in the living room," she suggested. "I was here first." Abby suddenly slammed down her magazine and stood up. "Okay, anything to get away from you." After she left, Miranda leaned down close to my cage. "I was hoping she'd like you, Humphrey. She sure doesn't like me."